Hello everyone and welcome to Golden Nova's First Reacts, where I react first to all the things you want to see reacted to first, as long as I'm the first person you come to react to things first. Which is going to be a little difficult this time around, because instead of getting this information directly from some kind of account, the cards we're showing off today came from creator reveals. Maze of the Master is being fully spoiled, and that includes the cards associated with Odion. Now, we made a video about continuous trap monsters a while ago, but that's not Odion. He uses a lot of them, sure, but these are meant to specifically work and evoke him, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they do that. Will it just be a series of continuous trap monsters? Are they just going to print out in a bunch of card text and buff them up? Or will we see something new and spicy, maybe involving the mystical beast of Circuit? It was a pretty good Scorpion. We should see more of that. Let's check him out right now. First up, the Man with the Mark, level 4 Earth Spellcaster monster, 1000 attack and defense. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can take a Temple of the Kings, or a spell or trap card that mentions it, from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. You can only use the effect of Man with the Mark once per turn, or that effect of it. While you control Temple of the Kings, this card and Apophis monsters you control can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, and Temple of the Kings you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay, so I suppose it would be important to double check the wording on Temple of the Kings. So we can kind of see Circuit at the bottom, but Temple of the Kings is pretty important. Did it list can't be destroyed by card effect twice? While you control Temple. Oh, this card and Apophis one, so they kind of protect each other in a way if you have both. Okay, so Temple of the Kings, get ready for the screen color to change. We're going from night mode to day mode, folks. Blah. Okay, Temple of the Kings. Continue a spell card. You can only activate one, or you can activate one trap card the turn it was set. You can send a mystical beast Circuit in your monster zone and this card you control to the graveyard to special summon a monster from your hand or deck, or a fusion monster from your extra deck, because it was made around the time that fusions were around, so, or we didn't have any other options. So, a very nifty card. I think there was a lot of stuff going around where it's like, oh, cool, we can activate cards the turn we're set. We can make a big hullabaloo with that. The other effect never really caught on because Mystical Beast of Circuit sucks. But if this changes that, that means that we'll have better access to monsters, especially fusion monsters, because there's some wild ones. And this just, yeah, it just grabs it or any associated card. Kind of funky. I dig where we're starting here. Okay, Merciless Scorpion of Circuit, level 6 Earth Fairy monster. These were fairies, remember? Even though this is giving Fiend, it's a fairy. Level 6 Earth Fairy, 2500 attack, 2000 defense. Cannot be normal summoned or set. It must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing one level 10 or higher monster from your hand or deck while you control Temple of the Kings. You can only special summon Merciless Scorpion of Circuit once per turn this way. Once per turn, during your main phase, you can add a Temple of the Kings or a spell card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, and at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the destroyed monster's original attack. Okay, I guess I had to double check Mystical Beast of Circuit now. I won't flashbang you with the change in background really quickly, but it's got all the same stats as Merciless Scorpion. If you do not control Temple of the Kings, this card gets destroyed, so this thankfully does not inherit that weakness. Banish any monster destroyed by battle with this card, and if this card destroys a monster, it gains 500 attack. So this is almost entirely an upgrade, though it's not counted as Mystical Beast of Circuit, so we can't substitute this for getting the Temple of the Kings effect. We will have to play original Mystical Beast of Circuit, at least so far. Level 10 or higher monster having to be banished is probably a reference to the God cards, specifically Raw, because they gave him a copy of that, and it didn't go well for Odion when he tried to use it. So we're trading that in for a 2500 attack monster that gets us a Temple of the Kings card, and auto kills. This card battles opponent's monster, you can destroy it. Is there a once per turn here that I haven't checked? You can only special summon once per turn. No way. Something about banishing one from your deck while you control Temple of the Kings. You'd have to control Temple of the Kings to even summon this in the first place. That's one thing, but, you know, once you have that, it's not tied to controlling it. Once per turn during your main phase, you can add a Temple of the Kings or spell that mentions it from your hand. Start of the damage step if this card battles an opponent's monster. Yeah, that is not once per turn. Is this... One second. I gotta analyze the card just to be sure. Yeah, wow, no. Only the summon is one. It defeats anything that it battles and it gains attack, so... Okay. Good to know. Anubis, the Last Judge, level 10. Oh, hey, we just get to play a level 10 monster anyway. Level 10 Earth Fiend, 3000 attack, 0 defense, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard while you have 3 or more cards in your graveyard with different names that are Temple of the Kings and or trap cards. Oh no, just regular trap cards in general. Okay. By placing 2 of them on the bottom of the deck in any order. Okay, so you kind of lose out on the card, so you can't continuously keep bringing it back, but as long as you keep filling the graveyard with different trap cards, you can summon it. Okay. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add the Man with the Mark from your deck to your hand. If a spell or trap card you control is destroyed by a card effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use each effect of Anubis the Last Judge once per turn. Okay, so we want to be playing multiple of this, I feel like, because we want to have a few spares to banish to summon out Merciless Scorpion of Circuit. Easy to summon Giant Body. We can discard it. It summons from hand or graveyard, but we want to be discarding it to get Man with the Mark, which Man with the Mark gets us Temple of the Kings, which can then let us use Circuit, which is pretty good. And then it has a effect that hits our opponent if our spell and trap cards are destroyed by card effects. Does not say destroyed by our opponent, so, you know, that's fun. Already, Divine Serpent Apophis. Oh man, we're not just talking about the avatars of it. We're talking about the Divine Serpent Apophis. Level 6 Earth Reptile Fusion Monster, 2800 attack, 2600 defense. Requires any 2 monsters that mention Temple of the Kings. It must either be fusion summoned or special summoned by attributing 2 Apophis monsters. So that's probably how we're going to do it. Once per turn, you can target up to 3 Apophis trap cards with different names in your graveyard and set them. And once per turn, if a trap card is activated, except during the damage step, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. That's pretty cool. It's like Statue of Anguish pattern, but it works on any trap card. This is only once per turn, but, you know, it's still free removal. And it's funny because they're fusion monsters and Temple of the Kings summons fusion monsters. Very funny. Okay, Divine Scorpion Beast of Circuit. Level 6 Earth Fairy, 3000 attack, 2000 defense. Requires a Circuit monster and a monster with 2500 or less attack. If this card is special summoned or at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the banished monster's original attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. Oh, so this one has a once per turn on it, but the main deck one doesn't. Can make a second attack during each battle phase while a level 10 or higher monster is banished. Okay, so this one does not have an alternate summoning condition, so we are going to have to fusion summon this specifically. But it does just start gaining attack points like crazy. And then if you've banished a level 10 for the original version, this becomes a double attacker, which makes it incredibly dangerous, because we're starting out at 3000. That's goofy. So, you know, there's that. Let's move on to Temple of the Kings. Field spell card. When this card is activated, you can set an Apophis trap card from your deck. This card's name becomes Temple of the Kings while in the field zone. Oh, okay. Once per turn, if you control 2 or more set cards on your field or a trap in your graveyard, you can add a monster that mentions Temple of the Kings from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Treasure of the Kings per turn. So we play it, we get an Apophis, and then once per turn, we get to search out a Temple of the Kings card as long as we meet the requirements. And that requirements are just having a trap card in our graveyard. Oh no, dang, in our continuous trap deck, who would have thought? Crazy. Or having 2 set cards if you haven't managed to set any cards in the field. Crazy. One of them is going to be an Apophis. I guess that's why it's not just 1 set card. It would handle itself. Okay. Defense of the Temple. Normal spell card. Fusion summon. Here we go. Fusion summon an Earth Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. If you use a monster you control that mentions Temple of the Kings, you can also use face-up monsters your opponent controls as material, which is essentially how we're going to make the fusion circuit. If they have a low enough attack monster, we can take that. If you control Temple of the Kings, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add a Dangers of the Divine from your deck to your hand. Okay. So we'll have to keep an eye out for the next card. It looks like is Danger of the Divine. So we get to search that. And yeah, this can make either of our fusion monsters that we mentioned previously. Though we're only going to be stealing one of our opponent's monsters if we're making the circuit. Though this fusion summons any Earth fusion monster, not just the ones that we've been talking about here, not just ones that mention Temple of the King. So I wonder what other Earth fusion monsters we can play that might have broad enough material that we can just start stealing stuff. Much to think about. Dangers of the Divine. Here we go. Quick play spell card. Pay half your life points and then tribute a monster to special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra. I told you we were bringing Ra into this. Or, it was involved in this, rather, with the level 10 mention. Special summon a Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck. From your hand or banishment, not your deck. Ignoring its summon. Oh, so we banish Ra and then we summon. Oh, but. Well, nothing's restricting you from special summoning Ra. It doesn't have a special summon restriction, so we can summon it from the banishment. Well, ignoring summoning conditions, though, so maybe it does. Maybe I'm... Oh, we gotta look up... I can't believe I have to look up the Winged Dragon of Ra as part of all this. It cannot be special summoned. Yeah, so we can't just banish Winged Dragon of Ra from our deck and then use Dangers of the Divine. We'd have to banish it after it was properly summoned, so... though we can summon it from our hand with this, so that's goofy. Okay, so it makes its attack and defense 4,000, but it cannot attack. Also, during the end phase of the next turn, return it to the hand. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, choose one, the Winged Dragon of Ra, in your monster zone, and send all other monsters on the field to the graveyard. Huh. Let me check Immortal Phoenix. Oh, it doesn't matter because it checks the Winged Dragon of Ra, not a Winged Dragon of Ra monster. Can this destroy? Winged Dragon of Ra only sends monsters, so it does have to be our opponent. We can't use Immortal Phoenix also sends monsters, so that wouldn't work anyway. I was wondering if we could trigger it on our own terms. It turns out not. This card seems pretty bad. Very flavorful. You have to pay a lot of life points to temporarily get Winged Dragon of Ra, which is kind of what happened in the show, to my recollection. It makes it 4K, 4K, but it can't attack, so it's not doing anything except blasting your opponent. And that's after you paid half your life points to do it. I don't know. I don't know about this one. We can skip this one. It doesn't even mention Temple of the Kings. It doesn't even mention Temple of the Kings. Let's get this out of here. Okay. Verdict of Anubis. Counter trap card. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you control 3 or more spell or trap cards, 3 or more other spell or trap cards, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Then, if you control Temple of the Kings, you can destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the total attack of those destroyed monsters. Woof! Now, unfortunately, this does not stop monster effects, which is kind of my baseline for if a counter trap is good or not. But spell and trap cards are also very powerful, so we can use this to stop them. Controlling 3 or more other spell and trap cards is a little rough, but it is meant to encourage you to play the continuous trap monsters because they are treated as spells and trap cards while they're in the monster zone. So, but that setup is pretty huge. Though the payoff is pretty neat. It negates it and destroys it, and then destroys all of our opponent's monsters and then burns them. So, you know, it might be worth it. And it lists Temple of the Kings, so I don't know. One of those cards that is going to look at is probably Temple of the Kings. So something to keep in mind. Okay, last up, Apophis the Serpent. I think this makes for our our third Apophis card because we had Embodiment and Swamp Deity. I think that's what it was called. And then we're having this one because the other one mentioned like 3 different Apophis cards, so we needed to have a third one. And here it is, Apophis the Serpent. Special summon this card as a normal monster. Earth Reptile, level 4, 1600 attack, 1800 defense. This card is also still a trap card. Then you can set an Apophis trap from your deck, except a copy of this card. It can be activated this turn, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add an embodiment of Apophis from your deck to your hand. Okay, so if it's sent to the grave from anywhere, so we'll be able to search out the regular old boring version of Apophis. Let me double check Apophis here. Yeah, there are only two. There's the Apophis, which has the same stat line as this, but you can just... It's just that. Though we can just activate it immediately with this, which is pretty cool. Or Apophis, the Swamp Deity. During the main phase, special summon this card as a normal monster, which is a level 6 with 2k attack, 2200 defense. Then you can negate the effects of face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of other continuous trap cards that you control until the end of this turn. So you can activate Apophis the Serpent, put Swamp Deity, and then activate it immediately to negate at least one, because you will have this continuous trap card. If you have more of them, that's more negates that you get. Or you can get regular embodiment of Apophis, make a rank 4. Either way, you can make a link 2. Both of those are pretty snazzy. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Well, I don't think we are going to be creating a meta shift here. These cards are nifty, but we're not recreating... This is no Ryziel situation here. There's a lot of interlocking parts. Merciless Scorpion of Circuit and its fusion monster being incredibly difficult to deal with in battle is one thing, but when you have any kind of removal that can deal with it is another. Man with the Mark only keeps this card and Apophis monsters from being destroyed by battle or card effects, which is nice to have a protection for, but it doesn't protect the circuit cards. Anubis is kind of funny. It's a big 3k monster. It recycles your trap cards. I feel like there's a few decks that would like that. What does this slot into? I feel like this is not handily just going to become its own archetype or its own deck in the meta, but what would this work with that would be justify adding them in here? Not Labyrinth. That's another big trap card deck, but Labyrinth already has the infrastructure that it needs to have a perpetual grind game. It does not need the Odion cards to make it work. I don't know. I'm kind of lost on these, to be honest. They're cool here. I like some of the ideas that we're putting forth here, and of course, seeing Circuit getting just an absolute beast mode fusion monster like this is wild. It might just be circling around, like centered around this guy, just killing someone with it. But at that point, that's not really making a trap card deck. You're just using Circuit and then fusing it off. And maybe banish Raw. I don't know. Oh, though it's important I just checked this. Apophis sets up to 3 Apophis trap cards with different names. You don't have to have 3 of them, so that's good, at least. Oh, but Apophis monsters can't be used as material for this, right? Did our new Apophis mention Temple of the Kings? It did not. That's so funny. It's an Apophis fusion monster that uses no Apophis monsters. Very, very funny. But, you know, that's not the end of the world. We have plenty of other Temple of the Kings cards. And we get to do this once per turn every turn. Activated, you can target a card upon controls. I don't know. I was kind of hoping that we would see like something that made Temple of the Kings itself a lot better. Like it helps to supercharge your plays, obviously, because it lets you play your embodiment immediately. Like you can play Temple of the Kings, set Serpent, activate Serpent, set another Apophis, activate it immediately, and then you can do stuff with it. But it doesn't really do much to help you utilize... I guess because Old Circuit mentions Temple of the King, you can search that out with your effects. But it doesn't special summon itself out It doesn't special summon itself out very easily. Nothing takes on its name. I don't know. I mean, I guess I shouldn't have been, like, getting my hopes up too much. This is an anime tie-in archetype built around a character who wasn't exactly tearing it up himself. But then again, Ishizu's cards redefined the game as we know it, though that was in combination with another super powerful archetype, so it's not like she was doing all the heavy lifting here. I just don't know what this plays well with. Let's bring in the rank 10 train stuff. Let's start banishing trains for Merciless Scorpion of Circuit. Yeah. I don't know. I suppose, like, Merciless Scorpion is pretty cool because if you have, you go the field spell, activate the field spell, you have a trap card in your graveyard, or try to get another set card with the Apophis that you set down on the field, and then use this search effect to grab a monster that mentions Temple of the Kings. You grab Merciless Scorpion of Circuit with that, banish a Raw or your level 10 or higher monster of choice from your deck, summon this, you control Temple of the Kings because the field spell is Temple of the Kings. Then you can add a Temple of the Kings or a spell card that mentions it. We get Defense of the Temple. That's what it's called, right? Defense of the Temple. And you can use face-up monsters your opponent controls as material if you control... Yeah, if you use a monster that you control that mentions Temple of the Kings, which Merciless does, you can use your opponent's monster. So then we, We fusion summon off an opponent's monster for Divine Scorpion, Beast of Circuit. So now we have this. We've absorbed an opponent's monster. We get to banish that monster at the very least. Maybe we banish another monster they control. It can make a second uncontested attack during each battle phase. Actually, that might be what the big play here is, right? Because if your opponent only has 2 monsters on board, you suck up one with the fusion spell, and then Scorpion Beast banishes the other one, and as long as that monster had a 2,000 attack, because it's half of the banished monster's original attack, this card gets up to 4,000, then it attacks twice and deals lethal damage. And then on subsequent turns, it can keep banishing stuff if that doesn't kill them. So that's like the major play line, and you get to do all of that off of the field spell. It's not mandatory. You can set an Apophis trap from your deck. So you can play this in any deck that has a trap card to do this whole line, and then you can banish Defense of the Temple. Because you control Temple of the Kings to get Danger of the Divine. Is this really like from your hand or banishment? But you can't summon a banished Raw because we've run into this with stuff like Flying Fortress Skyfire. You cannot summon a monster with a summoning condition from a public knowledge zone, even if you ignore their summoning conditions, if they were not properly summoned in the first place. So if we banish Raw from our deck, we can't use Danger of the Divine to get Raw. And even if we did, what would we do with a 4,000 attack monster that can't attack that's going to go back to our hand? Why are we paying half of our life points to do that? I don't know. I don't know. And like, if this retaliatory effect here sent all of our opponent's monsters to the graveyard, that would be one thing. But it sends all other cards, and the Raw that we summon is going back to our hand during the end phase of the next turn. Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe this has some kind of overlap with the other Raw forms that I'm unaware of at the moment. Other cards are cool. I kind of wish that they had pushed Apophis the Serpent a bit more. It's just kind of generates material. It doesn't do anything on its own that I find particularly compelling. Field Spell is cracked. Defense of the Temple is cracked. Divine Scorpion is cracked. I look forward to seeing if Divine Serpent Apophis can create the kind of consistent material, consistent line of material to make it worthwhile. Anubis the Last Judge is pretty funny, and basically any deck that runs trap cards. You don't even have to run Temple of the Kings. It's just if you have a bunch of trap cards that you run, and you're not like Paleozoic that wants to summon its monsters from the graveyard, this is pretty fire. Merciless Scorpion, part of that big whole summon chain, and even if you can't do the fusion spell, this card is just an asshole to deal with by itself. And Man with the Mark can facilitate all of that as well. I said all of that was off the field spell, which you could play 3 of, plus a Terraforming. If you summon out the Man with the Mark, you can also just put that into your hand because it's Temple of the Kings or a spell or trap card that mentions it, so you can grab the field spell. Yeah, wish I had more to say about this, but I'm thoroughly impressed by parts of these cards, but not impressed in the way that I was hoping for. I was looking for a big continuous trap card monster push, and instead it was a circuit-focused set of cards with a little bit of continuous Apophis stuff that ended up, the major card of it ended up being a fusion monster. So I guess I was off track, but that's kind of my fault, not necessarily the product's fault. I guess I want to hear what you all think, though. Is this like, is everyone on the same page as me? Is this kind of blindsiding you? Or are you excited for this? And are there any weird decks or plays that you're looking forward to doing with this? Let me know in the comments below. I want to broaden my knowledge. Thank you for sharing all that with me. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching here. And as always, until the next time Konami drops some juicy spoilers, I will see all of you next time. Bye-bye. Today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales that even come with their own lore and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media, and the Critic of Innocence, Nebula Navigator's 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabytes, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Kane Senpai, Charlie Mercury, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Great Big Pillock, Hair Bear, Happy Majin, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Marion James E. Picata, Mike Cook, Millennia Asta, Muse Clark, Neon Yami Nair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Bactboos, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sonic 21 Blast, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Ally Vatnia, Animasta, Anthrak, Baron von Titty Sprinkles, Beelzebub, Fish, Beluga Master, Blitzwolf, Charlie Mercury, again, Chaz Ghost, Dr. Entity RIP, Eva Padilla, Gary Lickbread, Hike Boyagian, Herbal D, Inblink, Kale the Dragon, Lobomaru02, Manga Pages, Natiel Lee Alexander, Nitromo, Not Al Gore, Nyx, Obsidian, Pombo, Rain, Rhyme Kairos, Shizuka Nijimura, Sir Knight JCB, Sophie, apparently, Sphilia, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Gene, Tiger X2476, Weasel King of Weaseltown and Zal Dureka, as well as all the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member.